My name is Miss Clark. I am a teacher. I am 28 years old. I teach the 2nd grade. My classroom is bright and sunny. I have pictures of animals on the walls. I have a big bookshelf filled with colorful storybooks. I love my job. I love the children. They make me laugh every day. Their energy fills the room. My life is simple. I wake up early. I drink a cup of tea. I go to school. I teach reading and writing. I teach numbers and science. After school, I grade papers. I prepare for the next day. Then I go home to my small, quiet apartment. It is a nice apartment. It has one big window in the living room. I have a cat named Patches. He is orange and white. He is very good company. But sometimes the quiet is very loud. Sometimes I feel a little lonely. I see happy families every day. Mothers and fathers pick up their children. They hug them. They ask about their day. I watch them from my classroom window. I smile, but a small part of my heart feels sad. I want a family one day. I want a love that is simple and happy. But for now, my life is my work. My life is the children I teach. And that is enough. I tell myself it is enough. The school year started like any other. New faces. New names to learn. 20 small children looking at me with big, curious eyes. There was one boy, Leo. He was quiet. He had big brown eyes and dark, messy hair. He sat in the back of the classroom. He didn't talk much, but he was a very good artist. He drew amazing pictures of dragons and castles. I could see a whole world inside his mind. I wanted to help him share it. I tried to talk to him. Leo, this is a wonderful drawing, I would say. Can you tell me about this dragon? He would just shrug his shoulders. He would look down at his paper. He was very shy. I worried about him. I wanted him to make friends. I wanted him to feel happy in my classroom. Then came the first parent-teacher night of the year. It is a very important night. I meet the parents of my students. We talk about their child. We talk about their progress. It can be a long, tiring evening, but it is a good way to connect, to work together for the children. I arranged my desk. I put out all the student files. I had a small bowl of candy for the parents. The parents started to arrive. I smiled. I shook hands. I talked about reading levels. I talked about math skills. Your daughter is doing very well, I told one mother. Your son needs a little more practice with spelling, I told another father. The evening was almost over. Most parents had come and gone. My classroom was getting quiet again. I looked at my schedule. One more name. Leo Hayes. His father was scheduled for the last appointment. I looked at the clock. He was late. I sighed. Sometimes parents don't come. It makes me sad for the child. I started to pack up my things. I put the files away. I thought about Leo, his quietness, his beautiful drawings. I wished his parent had come. I wanted to tell them how talented he was. I wanted to ask how I could help him be less shy. Just as I was turning off the lights, the classroom door opened slowly. A man stood there. He looked tired. He was wearing a simple jacket and jeans. His hair was a little messy, just like Leo's. He had the same kind, brown eyes. "I am so sorry," he said. His voice was soft and deep. "I am so sorry I'm late. I'm David Hayes, Leo's father. My car, it had a problem." I turned the lights back on. "It's okay," I said, trying to sound friendly. "Please come in. I'm Miss Clark." He walked into the room. He looked around at the children's drawings on the wall. He smiled when he saw Leo's dragon picture. "He loves to draw," he said quietly. "He's very good at it," I replied. We sat down at a small table. I pulled out Leo's file. I felt a little nervous. I don't know why. Maybe because he was the last parent. Maybe because he looked so tired and worried. "How is he doing?" Mr. Hayes asked. He looked at me directly. His eyes were very sincere. "Is he causing any trouble? He's so quiet. I worry about him." His words touched my heart. He was worried about the same things I was. "He is no trouble at all," I said quickly. "He is a wonderful boy. He is very smart, and his art is incredible." I showed him some of Leo's work. He looked at the drawings. A proud smile touched his lips. "He gets that from his mother," he said. He paused. The smile faded a little. "She passed away 2 years ago." My heart stopped for a moment. "Oh," I said softly. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know." Suddenly, I understood. I understood Leo's quietness. I understood the sadness I sometimes saw in his eyes. He was a little boy who had lost his mother. "It's been hard," Mr. Hayes said. He looked down at his hands. "It's just me and him. I try my best. But I work long hours. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing him." His voice was full of emotion. I felt a strong need to comfort him. This was not just a parent. This was a man trying so hard to be a good father, a man who was grieving and raising a child alone. "You are not failing him," I said. My voice was firm but gentle. "Leo is a wonderful child. He is kind. He is creative. You are doing a good job, a very good job." He looked up at me. His eyes were shining a little. He seemed surprised by my words. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you, Miss Clark. No one has said that to me in a long time." We talked for a while longer. Not just about grades. We talked about Leo, his favorite foods, his fear of thunderstorms. We talked about how to help him make friends. I suggested a small lunch group with a few other quiet children. He thought it was a great idea. When he stood up to leave, it felt different. It wasn't just a parent-teacher meeting. It felt like a real conversation, a connection. "Thank you again for everything," he said at the door. "You're welcome, Mr. Hayes," I said. "Please," he said, turning back. "Call me David." He left. I stood alone in my quiet classroom. The room felt different, less empty. I thought about David, his kind eyes, his love for his son. My heart felt warm. That night, something changed. I didn't know it then. But that parent-teacher night changed my life forever. The days after the parent-teacher night felt different. When I saw Leo in class, I saw him with new eyes. I understood his quiet world a little better. I started the small lunch group, just as I had planned. I invited Leo and 2 other shy students to eat lunch with me in the classroom once a week. At first, they were very quiet, but slowly they started to talk. Leo showed them his drawings. A little girl named Sarah showed him her favorite rock collection. They started to become friends. Seeing Leo smile and talk with other children made my heart feel full. David, Mr. Hayes, started picking Leo up from school himself. Before, it was usually a neighbor. Now, every day at 3 o'clock, he was there, waiting outside the classroom. He always had a small, tired smile for me. We would talk for a few minutes, just small talk. How was his day? He would ask. It was a good day, I would reply. He played with Sarah at recess. His face would light up. Really? That's great. Thank you, Miss Clark. Please, I would remind him. Call me Sarah. My name is Sarah. I had told him my first name, but he was very formal. He kept calling me Miss Clark. It felt strange, because I thought of him as David. These small conversations became a bright spot in my day. He was easy to talk to. He listened. He really listened. He asked about my day too. You look tired, Miss Clark, he said one afternoon. I hope the kids weren't too difficult. They were angels, as always, I said, laughing. It felt nice. It felt like talking to a friend. One Friday, it was raining very hard when school ended. I was helping the last few children with their raincoats. David was waiting at the door, holding a big umbrella. He helped Leo put on his backpack. Then he looked at me. Do you have an umbrella, Miss Clark? He asked. I looked around my desk. I realized I had left mine at home. Oh, no, I forgot it, I said. My car is just across the street, he said. He seemed hesitant. I can walk you to your car, so you don't get wet. Oh, you don't have to do that, I said. But I felt a flutter in my chest. It's no trouble, he insisted gently. Leo and I don't mind, do we, champ? He smiled at Leo. Leo just nodded, hiding behind his father's leg. So we walked out of the school together. All 3 of us under one big umbrella. The rain was making a soft sound. It felt cozy. My arm brushed against his as we walked. I felt a little spark. It surprised me. I was a teacher. He was a parent. This was complicated. I pushed the feeling away. I told myself it was just kindness. He was just being a nice person. When we reached my car, I turned to thank him. Thank you so much, David, I said. I had used his first name without thinking. He smiled, a real warm smile. You're welcome, Sarah, he said. He finally used my name. It sounded nice, the way he said it. We just stood there for a moment, the rain falling around us. Leo was looking up at me with his big, curious eyes. I felt my face get a little warm. Well, have a good weekend, I said quickly. I got into my car. As I drove away, I saw them in my rearview mirror. He was still standing there, watching me go. My heart was beating a little too fast. This was wrong. I knew it was wrong. There were rules, unwritten rules. Teachers and parents should not feel this way about each other. It could make things complicated for Leo. It could make things complicated for my job. I had worked so hard to be a good teacher. I couldn't risk that. I decided I needed to be more careful, more professional. The next week, when David came to pick up Leo, I was very polite. But I kept the conversation short. Leo had a great day, I said with a professional smile. I handed him Leo's folder. I didn't ask about his weekend. I didn't wait for him to talk more. He looked a little confused, a little sad maybe, but he just nodded. Okay, thank you, Miss Clark. He went back to calling me Miss Clark. It felt like a step back. It felt cold, but I told myself it was for the best. This went on for a few weeks. Our conversations were short and polite. I missed talking to him. I missed his warm smile. I missed the easy way we used to chat. The end of the school day started to feel a little empty again. One afternoon, I was staying late to decorate the classroom for Halloween. I was standing on a chair, trying to hang a paper skeleton from the ceiling. The chair wobbled. I lost my balance. Whoa, I cried out, trying not to fall. Suddenly, 2 strong hands were on my waist, holding me steady. I've got you, a familiar voice said. I looked down. It was David. My heart jumped into my throat. I hadn't heard him come in. David, you scared me, I said, breathing heavily. I'm sorry, he said. He didn't let go right away. His hands felt warm and strong. Leo forgot his art project. I saw your light on. Are you okay? I'm fine, I said, stepping down from the chair. My legs felt a little shaky. Thank you. He finally let go. We stood there, in the middle of my half-decorated classroom. The paper skeleton was hanging crookedly above us. It felt a little bit funny. I started to laugh. He started to laugh too. The tension of the last few weeks seemed to melt away. I'm not very good at decorating, I admitted. Let me help, he offered. You don't have to, I said. I want to, he replied. His eyes were serious. So he stayed and helped me. We hung paper bats from the ceiling. We taped paper ghosts to the windows. Leo sat at his desk and drew a picture of a friendly vampire. We worked together easily, like a team. We talked. We laughed. It felt natural. It felt right. But the whole time, a voice in my head was screaming, "Be careful, Sarah. Be careful." When we were finished, the classroom looked amazing. It was spooky and fun. Thank you so much, I said. I couldn't have done this without you. It was fun, he said. He was standing close to me. I could smell his cologne. It was a nice, clean scent. Sarah, he said. His voice was low. Can I ask you something? Of course, I whispered. My heart was pounding. Have I done something wrong? He asked. You seemed distant lately. I didn't know what to say. Should I tell him the truth? that I was scared of my feelings for him, that I was trying to protect my job and his son and my heart. I took a deep breath. No, I said, it was a lie. I've just been very busy, lots of work. He looked at me. I think he knew I wasn't telling the whole truth, but he didn't push. Okay, he said. Well, if you ever need help again, just ask. He and Leo left. I stood alone in the spooky, fun classroom. The silence was back, and it was louder than ever. I had tried to build a wall between us, but tonight, that wall had started to crumble. And I was terrified, but I was also just a little bit happy. I was falling for my student's father, and I didn't know what to do. The next few months were a strange dance. A dance of getting closer, then pulling away. After the night we decorated the classroom, it was impossible to go back to short, polite conversations. We were friends now, or something more. We just didn't have a name for it. We talked every day when he picked up Leo. We learned more about each other. I learned that he was a carpenter. He built beautiful furniture with his hands. That explained his strong, capable hands. He learned that I loved old black and white movies. He learned that my favorite flower was a daisy. Simple, happy flowers. He started doing little things for me. One of the bookshelves in my classroom was wobbly. I mentioned it one day. The next morning, when I came to school, the bookshelf was fixed. It was steady and strong. There was a small, single daisy sitting on the top shelf. There was no note, but I knew it was from him. My heart did a little flip. It was a sweet, secret gesture, but I was still so scared. At school events, like the winter concert, we would see each other. We would talk, but I was always aware of other people watching. Other parents, other teachers. I felt like we had a big, invisible sign above our heads. A sign that said, "Something is happening here." One of my colleagues, another teacher named Mrs. Davis, noticed. She was older and had worked at the school for a long time. One day in the staff room, she said to me, "Mr. Hayes seems like a very dedicated father." Her voice was friendly, but her eyes were sharp. She was watching me. "Yes, he is," I said, trying to keep my voice casual. "Leo is lucky to have him. He seems to spend a lot of time talking to you," she added. My face felt hot. "We just talk about Leo's progress," I said quickly. It was partly true, but it wasn't the whole truth. I felt guilty. I felt like I was hiding something, because I was. David felt the pressure too. We never talked about it directly, but I could see it in his eyes. He was careful too. We never met outside of school. We never talked on the phone. Our whole relationship existed in those few minutes after school, or in small, secret acts of kindness. Then came Leo's birthday. It was in February. He was turning 8. He invited the whole class to his birthday party. It was at a pizza place on a Saturday. I didn't usually go to student birthday parties. It was better to keep a professional distance. But Leo gave me the invitation himself. His eyes were wide and hopeful. "Please come, Miss Clark," he said. "It won't be fun if you're not there." My heart melted. How could I say no to that sweet face? "I will try my best, Leo," I said. I thought about it all week. Should I go? It was a weekend. It was outside of school. It felt like crossing a line. But I also really wanted to go. I wanted to see Leo happy on his birthday. And I wanted to see David. I wanted to see him outside of the school gates. I wanted to see him as just a man, a father, not just my student's parent. I decided to go, just for a little while. I told myself it was for Leo. I bought him a big set of drawing pencils and a new sketchbook. When I walked into the noisy pizza place on Saturday, I felt very nervous. Children were running around, laughing and shouting. I saw Leo. His face lit up when he saw me. He ran over and gave me a big hug. "You came," he shouted. "Of course I did. Happy birthday," I said, giving him his gift. Then I saw David. He was standing with a few other parents. He was wearing a simple sweater. He looked relaxed and handsome. Our eyes met across the room. He smiled. A big, genuine smile that made my stomach do a little flip. I went over to say hello. "Hi," I said. "Thanks for inviting me." "I'm so glad you came," he said. His voice was warm. Leo was so excited. We stood together and watched the children play. It felt surprisingly normal. For the first time, we were just two adults at a party, not a teacher and a parent. I met some of his friends. They were nice. They talked to me like a normal person, not just Leo's teacher. It was a relief. David and I talked. We laughed. He told me a funny story about trying to bake Leo's birthday cake. It had ended with smoke and a very flat cake. That's why they were at a pizza place. I told him about my own cooking disasters. It felt easy. So easy. At one point, Leo came running over. He had pizza sauce on his cheek. "Dad, can Miss Clark sit at our table?" he asked. "Of course she can," David said, smiling at me. So I sat with them, just me, David, and Leo. It felt like a family. The thought scared me as soon as it entered my head. I pushed it away. But the feeling stayed. Sitting there, laughing with them, it felt right. It felt like home. When it was time to cut the cake, everyone sang happy birthday. I watched David look at his son. The love in his eyes was so clear, so strong. He was such a good father, a good man. My heart ached with a feeling I couldn't name. It was love. I was in love with him. The realization was terrifying and wonderful all at once. I left the party soon after that. I needed to get away. I needed to think. David walked me to the door. "Thank you again for coming, Sarah," he said. He used my first name. It felt significant. It meant a lot to Leo and to me. "I had a wonderful time," I said honestly. We stood there for a moment, in the busy doorway of the pizza place. I felt like he wanted to say more. I wanted to say more too, but we couldn't. Not here, not now. I drove home with my mind spinning. I couldn't deny it anymore. I loved David Hayes, and I think maybe he loved me too. But our love was complicated. It was tangled up with my job, his son, the school, the whole town. I had no idea what to do. The joy I felt was mixed with a deep, heavy feeling of fear. This love felt beautiful, but it also felt impossible. After the birthday party, the invisible line between us was gone. We both knew how we felt. We didn't say the words, but we didn't need to. It was in the way we looked at each other, the way we smiled. The air between us was filled with unspoken feelings. This made things harder, not easier. Being at school felt like walking on a tightrope. I had to be Miss Clark, the professional teacher. But my heart wanted to be Sarah, the woman who was in love with David. David seemed to be struggling too. When he picked up Leo, his eyes would search my face, looking for something. Reassurance, maybe. Hope. We had these silent conversations every afternoon. They were full of longing and frustration. We were in the same place, but we couldn't reach each other. The school year was slowly coming to an end. Spring arrived. The trees outside my classroom window started to grow new green leaves. The children were excited for summer vacation. I was filled with a mix of sadness and relief. Soon, Leo would not be my student anymore. He would move on to the 3rd grade. Then, David would no longer be my student's parent. He would just be a man I loved. The thought gave me hope. Maybe we just had to be patient. Maybe we just had to wait until the school year was over. Then we could see what this feeling between us could become. It seemed like the right thing to do, the responsible thing to do, for Leo's sake, for my job's sake. But waiting was so hard. Every day felt like a year. One afternoon, I got a call from the school nurse. "Ms. Clark," she said, "Leo Hayes has a fever. He needs to go home." My heart clenched with worry. "Is he okay?" I asked. "He'll be fine," she said. "But you need to call his father." I called David at his workshop. When he answered, his voice was filled with the sound of sawing wood. "Hello," he shouted over the noise. "David, it's Sarah," I said. "I'm calling from the school. Leo is sick. He has a fever. You need to come and get him." The noise of the saw stopped immediately. "Is he all right? What happened?" His voice was filled with panic. "He's okay," I said calmly, trying to soothe him. "It's just a fever. He's with the nurse. But he needs to go home. I'll be there in 10 minutes, he said, and hung up. He arrived in less than 10 minutes. He ran into the school office. His face was pale with worry. He had sawdust in his hair. He looked like he had dropped everything and run. I was in the office, waiting with Leo. Leo looked small and sick, wrapped in a blanket. David rushed to his son. He knelt down and put his hand on Leo's forehead. "Hey, buddy," he said softly. "You don't feel so good, huh?" "My tummy hurts," Leo whimpered. David looked at me over Leo's head. His eyes were full of fear. I knew that look. It was the look of a parent who feels helpless when their child is sick. It was the look of a single parent who has to handle everything alone. "He'll be okay," I said softly. I wasn't speaking as a teacher anymore. I was speaking as a woman who loved this man and his son. "It's probably just a stomach bug." David picked Leo up in his strong arms. Leo rested his head on his father's shoulder. "Thank you for calling me," David said to me. His voice was thick with emotion. "Of course," I said. He started to leave. Then he stopped and turned back to me. "Sarah," he said. He looked lost. I don't know what to do. The doctor's office is closed now. What if his fever gets worse? My professional rules, my fear, all of it disappeared. All I saw was the man I loved, scared and alone. "Do you have medicine at home?" I asked. He shook his head. "I think I'm out." "Okay," I said, making a decision. "There's a pharmacy that stays open late. I'll follow you home. I can go get him some medicine. And I can help you look after him for a little while, if you want." He looked at me. Relief washed over his face. It was so powerful, it almost made me cry. "Really?" he whispered. "You would do that?" "Yes," I said, "I would." So I followed him to his house. It was a small, cozy house with a little garden in the front. Inside, it was a little messy. A man's house. A house with a busy father and a creative little boy. It felt real. It felt warm. He put Leo to bed. I wrote down a list and went to the pharmacy. I bought children's fever medicine. I bought some soup. I bought some juice. When I came back, David was sitting at the kitchen table. His head was in his hands. "Hey," I said gently. He looked up. "I'm sorry," he said. "You shouldn't have to do this. You're his teacher." "I'm also your friend," I said, sitting down across from him. "And friends help each other." I made some soup. I gave Leo his medicine. His fever started to go down. He fell asleep. David and I sat in the quiet kitchen. We talked. We talked for hours. He told me about his wife, how much he had loved her, how lost he felt when she was gone. He told me about his struggles, the loneliness, the fear of not being a good enough father. I listened, and then I talked. I told him about my quiet life, my lonely apartment, my dream of having a family. I told him how much I admired him, how I saw his kindness and his strength. The kitchen was dark, except for the small light over the table. It felt like we were the only two people in the world. All the rules, all the fears, they were outside. In here, it was just us. Just Sarah and David. He reached across the table and took my hand. His hand was warm and strong. It fit perfectly in mine. "Sarah," he said. His voice was low and serious. "I think you know how I feel about you. I have tried so hard to hide it. I have tried so hard to be respectful, to not cross any lines. But I can't hide it anymore. I'm falling in love with you." Tears filled my eyes. "I'm in love with you too, David," I whispered. He stood up. He walked around the table. He pulled me gently to my feet. He looked into my eyes, and then he kissed me. It was a soft, gentle kiss. It was full of all the unspoken words, all the waiting, all the fear, all the hope. It felt like coming home. We knew we still had to be careful. The school year was not over yet. We had to wait for Leo, for my job. But now, the waiting felt different. It wasn't filled with uncertainty anymore. It was filled with promise. The promise of a future together. The last few weeks of school were the hardest and the happiest of my life. David and I had a secret. A beautiful, wonderful secret. We didn't see each other outside of school again. We didn't want to risk anything. We decided to wait until the last day of school. That would be our real beginning. But knowing we loved each other changed everything. The looks we shared held a new meaning. His smile made my whole day bright. My simple, quiet life didn't feel lonely anymore. It felt full of hope. I focused on my job. I made sure Leo had a wonderful end to his second grade year. He was happy. He had friends. He was not the same shy boy who had started in my class. Seeing him happy was the most important thing to both me and David. Finally, the last day of school arrived. The children were excited and noisy. They gave me cards and flowers. They hugged me goodbye. "Have a great summer, Miss Clark," they shouted. Leo was the last one to leave. He gave me a picture he had drawn. It was a picture of 3 people holding hands: a man, a woman, and a little boy. The man had messy dark hair. The woman had my long brown hair. They were all smiling under a big, yellow sun. Underneath, he had written, "Thank you, Miss Clark." My eyes filled with tears. I gave him a big hug. "You have a wonderful summer, Leo," I said. David was waiting at the door. He was watching us. His eyes were shining. "Thank you," he mouthed to me silently. After all the children were gone, I stood in my empty classroom. It was quiet again. But it was a happy quiet, a hopeful quiet. I packed up my things. I took one last look around the room that had changed my life. I walked out of the school building. The summer sun was warm on my face. David was there. He was waiting for me by my car. He wasn't with Leo. He had arranged for a friend to watch him. He was waiting for me, just for me. He didn't say anything. He just opened his arms. I walked into them. He held me tight. It felt safe. It felt right. "No more hiding," he whispered into my hair. "No more hiding," I agreed. Our love was complicated. It started in a place with rules and boundaries. We had to be patient. We had to be responsible. We had to put a little boy's happiness first. But we did it. And now, our time had finally come. My life is not the same as it was. My quiet apartment is not so quiet anymore. It is often filled with laughter. The laughter of a man I love and a wonderful little boy. We are taking things slow. We are building our new life together, one day at a time. It is not a simple story. It is a complicated love story. But it is our story. If you are listening to this, Maybe you feel like your life is stuck. Or maybe you have found love in a difficult place. Please know that it's okay. Life can be complicated. Love can be complicated. But it is also beautiful. Be patient. Be kind. Do the right thing, even when it's hard. Sometimes, the most beautiful things are worth waiting for. You are strong. You can face the challenges. Don't be afraid to love. Keep your heart open. You can do this too.